And it looks like we are live, but for those of you who are watching this after the live show, during the replay, this is our 20-second lead-in to get rid of any ads that may pop up here. Please be sure you're watching those ads because those are important to us as well. But nevertheless, thank you for joining the Car Guy and Six Fan Show on this Thursday evening. My name is Jason. I'm the car guy of the Car Guy and Six Fan Show. And this joker over here next to me is...
Yeah, I'm Grant Tommy. I'm Straight Six Fan on YouTube, or Six Fan of this joint collaboration. And we're excited to have our guest below me. We'll let him introduce himself here in a minute. Casey, he goes by Casey on the streets, but on the YouTubes, he goes by something else. But we did just want to take a minute and acknowledge those who've dropped in the chat thus far. So we'll go all the way to the top, and everything is Broken Garage. Melissa Nunya, always a welcome, having her helping moderate things. Big Al is in the house. We've got Will's Wheels, Stuff with Cletus, King Eric, the greatest of all, Gary Mathis, Mechanics, Wasted Talent Fabrications, and I think that's it. But like I said, we're happy to have our next guest because here on the Car Guy and Six Fan Show, we started this to help each other get to 1,000 subscribers, and our next guest is on his road to 1,000 subscribers. So down below me, turn it over to you, Casey. Why don't you introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about what your channel's about, and just tell the chat who you are.
All right, I appreciate it. First of all, thanks for having me on, guys. It really means a lot to me to be on this show. My name is Casey. My YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, everything is Patina Pitstop. I am a self-proclaimed below-average backyard mechanic that knows just enough to get myself into trouble. My channel mainly focuses around my 1964 Chevelle station wagon. And I also have a 1986 Chevy S10. That's a base model. That's my daily driver, but it's got big plans in the near future for the S10. But mostly that's what my channel revolves around, those things: drag racing, working on cars, and failing, pretty much.
Well, welcome to the club, because that's pretty much what we do around here. You'll fit right in with this crowd. Guys, if you're watching in the chat, don't forget that we gladly accept super chats, and we don't forget those super chats because at the end of the season, sometimes there's a little bit of recapping of those super chats, and stuff happens. So keep that in mind. We really appreciate that, and thank you for supporting the Car Guy and Six Fan Show. So Casey, right out of the gate, I want to know what got you into cars.
It's funny you should ask that. I just dropped a video right before this went live, and it is, I took a trip down to the Atlanta, Georgia area. That's where my parents live. And I went to my dad's house, and my dad's really what got me into cars. I grew up, we always had cars that he was either fixing up to flip and sell, or working on his own cars. And he's over the years, he's got a really nice garage. He's had tons and tons of muscle cars. So when I was 16, 17 years old, immediately I jumped right in to, I had a 71 Chevelle when I was in high school, always messing with cars. And, I probably failed more back then than I do now, but at least now I have a little bit more money to compensate for that.
Well, and you talked about the two kind of mainstays on your channel, the S10 and the 64 Chevelle wagon. And I want to talk a little bit about the wagon itself because, here on the Car Guy and Six Fan Show, we love our GMA bodies. We love them so much. We've done 2 full episodes just directed at them. But they fit right in line with what I'm all about, offbeat hot rodding. It's, if you can't get the actual 64 Chevelle 2-door SS, all the above, right? Like, start going down the list. And wagons are definitely cool, but how did you stumble upon, how did you come about the 64 Chevelle wagon?
I've always been a station wagon guy. I've had, I think, 7 or 8 station wagons. Started in high school. Once I bought one, and that was kind of before they were cool. I'm about Jason's age. So early 90s when I was in high school, station wagons weren't a big thing. People weren't fixing them up much back then. And I had a 66 Nova wagon. And that kind of sent me down the path of, I've always loved wagons. My dad and I haven't really told this story a whole lot. My dad, after he retired from the military, both my brother and myself, we're about the same age. My brother's 2 years younger, and we had families. We were in our mid 30s. We had families and houses and everything else, and we didn't have money. So we ended up, both of us had sold our old hot rods off, and my dad had retired and he had a little bit of money, and he said, I'm going to buy each one of my sons a car. Not something that's finished, something that's just, to get them kind of back into the hot rodding thing, because they have young kids and everything. So my dad ended up giving me that 64 Chevelle station wagon. He found it down in Georgia, and he took some pictures of it and sent it to me, and he said, what do you think of this? And I'm like, yes. And it's right up my alley. I like the patina. I like the wagon part. It was originally a 6-cylinder power glide car. Someone had put a 350 in it, and that's pretty much it. The engine was worn out. The suspension was worn out. The brakes were worn out. But it looks pretty much the same now as it did the day that that he bought it. And then he fixed a couple things on it, and then he brought it up to me. And so I've had it about 11 years now. I'll never sell it. And it's just, to me, it's just the perfect, it's like fits me, the personality, the patina, the wagon. It's just like a perfect fit for me. So I couldn't have picked a better car.
Well, it's funny that we kind of answered the question of who got you into hot rods and old cars, and it was your dad. Again, similar story here, and then with the car that you've had for 11 years, the wagon, it falls right in line with the same thing. Anybody who's been following me for quite a while knows that I've got a '79 Chrysler Cordoba that I've had since 1995. So I was just out of high school when I got that car. And I mean, it was not bad then, but now, of course, like you said, after failure, you learn from your mistakes and you get to build on things. Where did you get your experience? Was that from your dad too? Like, was he mechanically inclined to the point where he could teach you some of his, tricks of the trade with, engine building or suspension, brakes, whatever? Like, is that where you get that too?
Yeah, my dad's a really good mechanic. He can fix anything. I mean, he can fix your toaster or a carburetor, small box Chevy, anything. My dad is a really good mechanical person. I did not get all those skills. They did not inherently come down to me. So I've had to kind of struggle along the way. But I get most of my mechanical ability, or the little bit of mechanical ability I have because of him. Looking back, when I was in high school, as a teenager, I didn't really spend the time with my dad learning like I should have. I thought I knew it all, or I was chasing girls or whatever, and didn't spend the time really learning what I should have. I'd probably be a really good mechanic if I would have paid attention more, but instead I was like, Dad, I gotta go goof off and do burnouts and break stuff. And so I didn't learn as much as I probably should have. So that's why, as I've gotten older, it's just been the fail as I go kind of thing.
I'm a big proponent, though, of if you're not interested, you're only going to piss the teacher off more, right? So they're going to be like, he's not even listening. So I don't know that I'd beat yourself up too much on that part of it. But Casey, you talked about your love for the patina. Of course, your name is Patina Pitstop. So, and which is a name I love. Like, as soon as I saw it, I was like, I don't care what this guy puts up. I love. That's so genius. But where did the name come from, or what are the origins of Patina Pitstop?
Basically, I was trying to come up with something to go with patina, and there's the sweet patina, that 57 Chevy wagon. I've seen lots of different channels or Instagrams with the word patina with it, but I wanted something with another P. My name is Casey Cavane, CC, so I wanted something with a PP. So I was trying to just come up, what else is car related with patina? And I just kept thinking about it. And Pitstop is a fun sounding name. It's car related, even though I have nothing to do with pit stops because I'm a drag racer, not a circle track guy. But I just thought it sounded cool together. And that's really the only reason why. I don't know what they call it when it's two letters of the first. It's not alliteration or onomatopoeia or one of those things. It's two P's together. I think that sounds cool.
It's one of those things we learned in junior high school that we just forget the names of stuff now. And
Yeah.
of course, because we're getting older, we forget stuff anyway. So I guess kind of a great segue into, what you said about pit stops is you're not a circle track racer, you're a drag racer. Tell us a little bit about your drag racing history. Like, I don't want to keep going back to, how did you get into it? Because it was probably dad again, but nevertheless, like what draws you into drag racing? What keeps you going in drag racing?
So my dad has a little bit of experience with drag racing, but that's really not his thing. He's a car show guy. And when I was in high school, me and all my buddies, we went to the drag strip at Atlanta Dragway, RIP Atlanta Dragway. We went to the Atlanta Dragway one Saturday night, and there was probably 5 or 6 of us. And I had never raced before. I had my 71 Chevelle. It had a 273 gear, so it was terribly slow. And but I started winning rounds, and I ended up going to the semifinals in my first bracket race, first time ever going down the drag strip. And I was hooked. I was like, oh, I'm good at this. I can't throw a football. I can't dunk a basketball. But I can drag race. Right. I mean, I was like, I can do this. And so I just kept drag racing, kept bracket racing. I won a track championship bracket racing at Great Lakes Dragway in 2008. I was the runner-up at Atlanta Dragway in 1997. So I've just, it just seems to, bracket racing seems to fit with my abilities or lack thereof in the stick and ball sports. So that's why I just stuck with drag racing because I was good at it.
I've always considered drag racing, it's like the equivalent of bench press, right? Like everybody wants to bench press. Everybody wants to max out and know it's the one thing you can do in a straight line. And that for hot rodding, drag racing is that for me. It's just the quintessential, that's it. As long as we're talking about drag racing stuff, with Cletus had asked a question in the chat. And I think it's a good one. I think it's a good segue. I know you, our friend Narcs Selected Customs, loves to go to events and try to get his exposure there. But No Name Nationals is kind of this phenomenon. I think John Wilburn is half of that equation. I don't know who the other kind of co-sponsor is, but he's asking, are you going to No Name Nationals, Casey?
Where is that one at? I'm not sure about that one.
So it is, so the principle behind it is like it's meant to be a Cars for Cletus, but for all of us small-time YouTubers. Like that, hence the name No Name Nationals. It's meant for like.
Oh, we may have lost Grant. I think what he was getting at was, where is it being held? Is like John Wilburn is, I believe, in the Tennessee somewhere. So
there we go.
I'm guessing it's going to be somewhere in Tennessee.
It's like southern Missouri. Like if you were driving to Memphis from St. Louis, it's somewhere along that line. Okay. I don't know if it's. I want to say it's halfway between the two, but I think it's probably closer to Memphis.
I will definitely
Memphis
look
is
that
like
up.
Memphis is like extremely west in Tennessee, is it not?
It's about
Correct.
3 or 4 hours away from me. Yeah.
Yeah. So where are you, Casey? You're in where? South Carolina?
I'm in Nashville. I'm just east of Nashville.
Oh, you're in Tennessee. There you go. So you're within a good, a decent drive to get just about wherever you want. Yeah. So, we talk about the No Name Nationals, and I think that that's kind of a big thing that's happening, in your area. And we've talked about several occasions that, being in Canada with the border situation the way it is right now, but even without that, being in Canada, nothing, especially where I am, is an easy drive for anything. So if I ever wanted to do hot rod power tour, it's like a 2-day drive. If I wanted to go ever meet up with Grant, even if he met me halfway, I think we figured Ohio was probably like midway, and that's like a day's drive for me. So do you have any aspirations to do a bigger track or something somewhere like a Cletus and Cars somewhere?
I hope to do Cletus and Cars Indianapolis. That's about 4 hours away. I'm going to look into the No Name Nationals. The Hot Rod Power Tour is coming really close through the Nashville area, so I'm probably going to at least pop in, do a day or so of it. I think Drag Week is kind of close too. I think it ends up in Bowling Green or something, which is like an hour and a half away. I would love to do a drag and drive event. I've been really wanting to do a drag and drive. My plan this year is to do 2.0, right? Race Week 2.0, which is in September. I've got it pencil marked as that's one of the things I've wanted to do, Drag Week or Rocky Mountain Race Week, ever since they started. And my wagon would be a pretty good fit. It's not going to be fast enough to win, but my car is streetable enough and quick enough that it's going to be, decent at least. So that's what I'd like to do.
Yeah, and I know earlier in the chat, Will's Wheels, he was commenting on me not looking at the camera. I typically like to look at the camera, but I have a dual monitor setup going on tonight, and I prefer to watch these lovely faces over here. So that's why I'm doing what I'm doing. But yeah, Rocky Mountain Race Week is a big deal, and I'm lucky enough, to live in Kansas, and of course our friend Chad Ehrlich of Nobody's Show lives in Great Bend, Kansas, which is usually a stop for 1.0, the first go around. It's an insane event, and it's definitely I've been part of, or I've dropped in on some stops once or twice, and it's amazing really how tiny the car culture really is. I mean, earlier today I found this. If you saw on Instagram, I made a post about this 2.3 liter Lima Cam Advanced gear I bought. And there's a story behind that, but the guy of Stinger Performance Worldwide is literally the next town over from me. So it's funny. I was talking with him, and I mentioned a name from a hot rod magazine from 1999, and he knew exactly who I was talking about. So the community is super tight, and so going to these events, it's amazing. You meet people. Like I met the Flying Sparks Garage at one of these events after doing the Car Guy and Six Fan Show, and it was as if we were high school friends. So, sorry, that's a lot of talking, but Casey, I guess what I'm saying is, as you've been on your YouTube journey and you found yourself interacting with other channels and other people, what are some of your anecdotes of, man, this is really a tight-knit community, or I can't believe I got to meet so-and-so, or, oh my gosh, like, everybody knows this person. Do you have any anecdotes as far as that goes?
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm going to use this as the segue. That I was on a Facebook group that's for YouTube car guys, and somehow I've hooked up with 815 LSX swaps, and somehow I still can't. I don't even remember how. 815 LSX swaps and Narcoleptic Customs, Mike and myself got into a chat together. We have a message feed that's been going on for like a year now, and it's us just bouncing ideas off of each other. But it started with us going to Cletus and Cars last year at Indianapolis, and they sold out, and I couldn't go because I wasn't going to pay $300 for a ticket. But they both went, but Mike is like invited me to go to the Airbnb. He's like, well, I got an Airbnb. You can just come hang out. And I'm like, dude, you don't even know me. Like, I'm just some random guy on YouTube. And he's like, nah, come on, you can crash. You put in your $100 and you can stay at the Airbnb. And I'm like, I'm gonna bring my wife. He goes, that's fine. Is she cool? I'm like, yeah. He's like, okay, you can bring her too. And so I mean, like, what other community can you be like, oh, I saw this guy on YouTube, come sleep in the on the couch at this Airbnb that I've never met you. So
yeah, I've never met him personally myself either, but your anecdote, your story, that sums up Mike as far as I know.
Well, and I think again we keep leading into different topics or different discussions, and I think this is an excellent opportunity to talk about your little YouTube rivalry that you and 815 are trying to reach 1,000 subscribers. And if you guys go back 3 years ago, Grant and I basically did the exact same thing. In fact, it was the birthplace of the Car Guy and Six Fan Show, where each of us was trying to hit 1,000 subscribers. So if you're not subscribed to Patina Pitstop, and we can do this now because you're here and he's not, and he's got the lead on you. So if you're not subscribed to Patina Pitstop, I think that we'll make sure that Melissa gets your link in the chat so guys can go over and check that out. make sure you're subscribed because he's putting out some regular content. He's got some great stuff out there on everything that he's doing. And let's help him get to the 1,000 subscriber goal. Now, maybe tonight might only be a few subscribers that jump over there. Most of the people who are in here likely are already subscribed, but 2 or 3 more, 5, dozen, 12, 20, whatever it happens to be, might just help get you closer. And that's part of what we want to be able to do here is help guys grow, help the channels grow, get a little bit of exposure. One of the things that I think is the biggest part of what you two are doing is exactly what you said. Here's some guys who are part of the car community, don't know each other from Adam, but yet we feel like we can talk and chat like we're best friends. Grant and I, we've known each other for probably close to 4 years now and never spoken a word face to face. We've never met each other, but I think that if he dropped in on me or I dropped in on him, it would just be another day. We'd grab a beer, we'd start talking about whatever. Like, that's what this car community is all about, and that's again why we continue to want to do this show, is to be able to, you know, reach out and meet more people. What is your goal? What YouTube aspirations do you have in growing your channel? Obviously, you want to get to 1,000, but where do you see it going from there?
You know, obviously that's always the first one, get to 1,000. I have the hours right now because I've had a couple of videos that have kind of carried my channel. So I got that hurdle already taken. I would like the channel, like, I know that, you know, I want to get monetized, obviously. I want it to be able to self-sustain, basically, where I could use whatever little bit of money I can get from YouTube to buy a project car, to do some content on and flip it and then go to the next one. I'd like to be able to rent like a small shop, because right now I'm in an apartment just because I moved down here last year and the housing market's crazy. So I'm just living in an apartment. I have 2 single car garages. So the first thing, I'd like to have someplace to work on stuff. And then I'd like to be able to just buy something that I think is interesting, fix it up, clean it up, and flip it, and then use that money to maybe buy something a little better. And then just to keep that ball rolling, but do it with stuff that I think is cool. Not necessarily like, you know, the vehicle rescues or saves, but just something that I think is cool that would be interesting to watch, and just do basic stuff, get it running, fix the lights, you know, put wheels and tires on it that look nice, and then flip it and sell it. That's what I would love to do. So
that was my approach with Project Low Fairmont, and I don't think I'm going to pull that off as as it seems, but I do think my initial target budget of 4,000 was the right place to target. But no, that's the same thing. Even if I take a loss, I've always said, like, this first project car for me, like, that's my tuition into this hobby, like learning things. But reading through the chat, it looks like Casey, we've picked up at least 4 subs for you. And as we were mentioning before the show, I'm sure 2 days from now they'll subtract 4 subs from you somehow. But that's, you know, that's the life as a creator. But anyway, going back to you and 815 LSX swaps. It's kind of a mouthful. You've been drinking as much bourbon as I have been tonight. You guys kind of took the similar format. It's a competition, and you've started some weekly live streams. So what do you think you've learned so far as you've started your own live stream journey? And do you have hopes for that format?
it was kind of by accident. We were talking before, and before the show started, that I've never done the live thing. I watch a lot of, like, you guys' show, and Mike from Narcoleptic Customs, he does a lot of lives, and it's not something I ever really thought I was going to be into. It is a lot of fun though. After doing my first one last night, it was a lot of fun. Like Destroyer 1320, he's one of the ones that does a lot of live things, and it's actually a lot of fun. I found it really interesting. There's a lot going on when you're trying to read the comments and post things and keep the conversation going. But it definitely was way more fun than I thought. That's kind of how this whole thing started, with him and I doing the contest to get to 1,000, and then we started doing the live things back and forth, just as updates and just talking about what we're doing. I haven't changed my strategy of nothing and slow and steady. And I get my 7 to 10 subscribers every week. And he has been hustling and posting on Instagram and shorts and reels and TikTok. And he is just, he's gapping me right now for a drag racing term. I am getting gapped by an 815 LSX swap. So I have some things in my pocket that I'm going to start, I got to at least be in the game, even if I can't catch up, at least he's going to know that I'm, that I'm trying and that I'm here to play at least.
Well, and that's something that we talked about the last two guests that we've had, who both of them have been huge TikTok stars, I guess you want to call them, or have had great success on TikTok, and their YouTube channels are slowly following. Is, if you're going to be on any one particular platform, you want to make sure that you're branding yourself. You want to make sure you're out there, you're posting on a regular basis. This is something that Grant and I had talked about doing for ourselves, is making sure that we at least daily post on our social media, just trying to make sure that people see what's going on out there. And the idea behind that is people will get used to seeing your face. They'll get used to seeing and hearing your stories. They'll want to know a little bit more, and they just might give that click. Once they're over to your YouTube, if that's the main social media you want them to go to, it just may earn a subscription from that person. And that's kind of the whole game, is getting that subscription. Grant, I don't know about you, but it's getting a little chilly in here. I think it's time to put on my shirt. I'm getting
you know what? It's actually
a little bit chilled. Woo!
Pretty cold here in Kansas too, so
I can't reach the thermostat from here.
Throw on the flannel myself, and
yeah. So I guess Casey's a little bit on the oddball.
You guys this wasn't in the email. This was not in the email I got earlier.
We didn't get the email.
We try to include every piece of information you could possibly want to know about our show, but yeah, I guess we did leave that out. And Jason and I's running joke, I think it was season 3 or 4, we decided to post produce all of our Car Guy and Six Fan shows as a podcast over on SoundCloud. So I did a nice little sound intro to it, and we joked that we were separated at birth and 10 years apart, because as we've gotten to know each other more and more, we're like, oh, you like Creedence Clearwater Revival? So do I. Oh, you like this? You like that? And we both own the damn same shirt. So cheap ass Old Navy
flannel
shirts. These are probably 12 years old or something, or even older than that.
Oh, they got to be at least that. I know I've moved them from my other house to this one, so hey, I had them for a while. Anyways, we're getting way off topic there, and Grant's frozen out again. See, he's really cold. His camera's freezing up. So, I guess we have talked a little bit about the YouTube strategies and where you want to go. What is? Oh, and I see Eric's in the chat. He jumped in there. So we don't want to talk about him because we don't want him to get that leg up on you tonight. So Eric, you can stay in the chat. Just do your own thing. If you had one thing or one aspiration to do as a YouTube star or aspiring YouTube celebrity, what would that be? What do you think is it going to be that's going to get you noticed?
I kind of hoped my station wagon, because it's unique. That's really what the channel started around, and I would really like to keep the main focus on that car, because I think it's unique and it's got such a cool look to it. I don't know if I need to have a blower sticking out of the hood or something, but I feel like that car can help my channel be a star. You know what I mean? Like Leroy helped Cletus McFarland, become where he's at. There's got to be a catalyst. There's got to be something. I don't have enough personality, I don't think, to carry it. So I need my car to kind of be my crutch to help my channel grow. And I'm hoping that if I can get enough people to see my car and think, okay, that's really cool, that maybe that'll be the thing that keeps my channel growing.
No, I completely agree with what you say, Casey, because Project Low Fairmont, for me, I always knew that was going to be my first one. I wanted to build the most all-around car I possibly could at that budget price point that I had set, which was $4,000, which it wound up going to $4,999. But I always thought like the next one, if I was going to, kind of graduate it by $1,000, like you talked about kind of earlier, flip the car, move up, see where you can keep going. In my mind, I always thought the next one, I wanted to go all in on like one facet of the car. Maybe it was like suspension or something, like just go all out nuts, QA1 suspension all around on like, 4-door Buick Skylark, 66 Buick Skylark or something. So I agree with you. I think that is really the key. You got to stand out. You got to be unique, but you also have to take something to the extreme. So as long as we're playing this dream maker scenario, what would, you talked about a blower coming out of the hood of the out of the wagon, but so let's just take the S10. What would be your, like, let's just take one facet of it and take something to the extreme. What would you do with the S10?
I already have plans for the S10, and I'm going to I'll go ahead and kind of reveal a little bit of it. I have a long-term goal and a short-term goal for the S10. That car, and if anyone's watched my channel, it's a base model. No power steering, no power brakes. And in 1986, I can't even believe they made cars without power brakes. No tilt, no power windows, no power door locks, no cruise, no nothing. I mean, it's the base model. Rubber floor mat. To me, it's a factory-built drag car. Like, it just wants to be a drag car because it doesn't have any thrills. It's just a base. And what I want to do to that thing is turn it into a drag car, but like step by step. Like, this is how to do it on a budget with the hopes of someday going faster, but not to do things twice. So let's work on the suspension. Let's work on the motor and transmission to get the motor mounts. Let's get the shifter that we want long-term. Let's get the setup that we want motor and transmission wise long-term. Let's do all the suspension work, but I'm going to put a stock 350 in it and a stock Power Glide in it to start. And let's get everything set up and let's make it work perfectly. And then we'll put a bigger engine in it, a better transmission, a better gear, but let's science out each piece of it as we go and do it budget friendly and do it where I can make the car grow without having to, like, I know you said this before, Grant, don't want to go backwards. I don't want to do something and be like, that didn't work. So now I got to spend more money to go back to where I started and do something again. I want to take each step and be very methodical and make that thing a drag car, budget to really fast the right way.
Yeah, I mean, you really are speaking my language. Like, that is what Project Low Fairmont was meant to be, where, hey, if you didn't want to do what I wanted to do, like rip the 302 out, put an LS in it, but I put an 8.8, a strong enough rear end in there for you to handle all that horsepower or whatever. Like, I wanted to build the infrastructure around, like, the next buyer can take this a ton of different ways. But sorry, Jason, you were about to build off of that as well.
No, I was just going to say that, part of being into the odd body or the unique style of car, whether it be a wagon or a 4-door or a Fairmont or a Cordoba or whatever it happens to be, part of doing that is you're already one step ahead of the guy that may be running that Camaro or that Firebird or that Corvette or Mustang or whatever it happens to be, just simply because you're not seeing another you at the track, or you're not seeing another you at the car show. So, you've already got a leg up on a lot of people because there's not many people out there. I mean, there's a few, and I've seen them, but running like full size wagons down the track. So one thing that you got to do when you're doing that is, okay, yes, it's different, and people will see that it's different, but you got to make it stand out now, like you said, whether that be a blower sticking out of the hood, whether that be tubbed and great big, 30-inch slicks on the back or whatever it happens to be. Like, there's something there. And I get what you're saying, do it right the first time when the budget allows, because you don't want to be going back and changing your rear tire or your rear gear setup 20 times. We all know how pain in the ass gears are. Let's do it once. Let's do it right. Let's find what we got and move forward. What is the next big step for that car that you've got in the books?
The wagon, I'm pretty happy with the way it's set up right now. I'd like it to be a little bit quicker. Right now it's running high 13s in the quarter mile. I really thought it would be a little bit quicker than that. The engine that's in the wagon came out of my 72 Nova that I had about 20 years ago. And the Nova ran mid to high 12s, but the Nova's a lot lighter, and they had a better gear, a better stall converter, and it was set up just for drag racing. It wasn't, I mean, I could drive it on the street, but it wasn't good at the street. So that's kind of the reason why Hemi and the Yugo, there you go. That's going to get you views. But so basically the wagon is, it's pretty close to where I'd like it to be. The wagon has a 350 Chevy, small block Chevy. I built the engine about 22 years ago in my garage. It's a stock bottom end, basically 350 flat top pistons. It's bore 30 over. It's a 2-bolt main, stock crank, stock rods. It's got a nice set of heads, and it's got too big of a cam for the gear ratio and the weight of the wagon. It was great in the Nova. It's not so great in the wagon. If you watch any of my drag racing videos with the wagon, the first 60 feet, the thing kind of lumbers until it can get going and get the RPMs up. It needs either a bigger stall or less weight. It just, the two, it kills it. The 60-foot time is terrible in that car. But I'd like the wagon to, I'm not going to change the stall converter. I've already changed it once, and I went cheap and didn't put enough stall in it. But I wanted to keep the car really drivable. I'd like that car to be a jack of all trades. I want it to be able to do Rocky Mountain Race Week. I want to be able to bracket race it. I want to be able to take it to a car show. I want to be able to drive it to work if my S10 breaks down. That's really what I want that car to be able to do. Everything, not great, but be able to do everything. That's why the S10, I think, will be my drag car, because the wagon is never going to be a great drag car in its current configuration. Long term for the wagon, I'd like to put air conditioning on it because it's hot here in Tennessee. And I'd kind of like to put a 5-speed in it. I think that would make it a little more unique. And that way, if I did a drag and drive event, sort of like the guys, I forgot their name now, Tom and Blaine with the 55 Chevy. They have that baby blue 55 Chevy wagon that is a 5-speed, and that's really cool. And I think that would make my car stick out a little more if it was a 5-speed too.
Yeah, funny you mentioned a 5-speed, because I was kind of going to go there anyway. But my day job is architecture. I'm an architect, and we get into these design situations where, you always say take the constraints off. Just throw out any idea that comes to mind. Like, just keep going. Like, just the more ideas, the better. And sometimes, like, someone will always throw out some ridiculous idea that's kind of like a joke just to get people laughing. But it's also funny, and this is where the English language breaks down, how many times you're like, okay, now wait a second. We might not do that, but what if we do, kind of take this piece of it, and like all of a sudden it's a really good idea. And so I was thinking, as you were talking, like maybe the wagon, and so I'm just going to throw out, I feel like it might be kind of fun to do a round table here between the three of us. Like, if the wagon was mine, what would I do, kind of a thing? Not to say that, Casey, you would give a shit about what my opinion is, right? But just like, if I throw something outlandish out there, all of a sudden I'm like, yeah, well, wait a second, like, what if? So as you were talking about the S10 and sciencing the hell out of something, like, it almost feels like, since you like really where the wagon is, for me, I thought about 5-speed, but what if you scienced the hell out of, like, weight transfer on the wagon, like, or weight reduction on the wagon? Because it's like, if you really like where it's at, like, and it's all about going faster, like, how creative can we get with, like, let's replace some body panels and maybe some aluminum, like, with dimple dies and stuff, like, just to reduce weight, but it still looks cool as hell. So it's pulling off what you talked about. I want to win a ribbon at a car show. So that's my take. Jason, what would you do if you had Casey's 64 wagon? What's your kind of out there idea? What would you do?
Fuzzy dice. No. One of the things that I noticed when I was watching one of his drag racing videos is the bench seats, not just one but two. What a perfect opportunity for weight reduction. I get it. It's original, and those seats look like they're in really good shape. But one of the things that if you were looking for, if again, we're talking if it was mine, I would get rid of the two bench seats. There's probably 150 pounds right there. Add a racing seat to the chassis. I would also make sure that I had electric fan, not mechanical. I would also make sure I had a Transgo shift kit in it, sharpen up those shifts a little bit more, because that is one thing that I know. My dad's a transmission mechanic, and growing up in that industry, it's some of the things that you tend to hear, you listen when you hear a race car go down. How long does it take to make that 1, 2, 3, 4 shift, whatever it happens to be? And so the little things like that, as well as the wheel tire combination. A couple little things that if I was going to solely drag race it to help get rid of some of that weight, those are some of the things that I might look at.
Yeah, it's funny. A lot of those things I've thought about. I thought about putting a fiberglass front bumper and then having it chromed or, wrapped in chrome so it still looks like a factory bumper. I thought about a flat fiberglass hood and then try to fake the patina to make it look rusty still. That's the only way I would do that though. And as far as that, there's not much else to do on weight wise. That car there's no carpet in it right now, and I want to put carpet back in it. There's no headliner. The car is 3,700 pounds. I did put the battery in the back, so that's weight transfer. The car hooks. When I go to the drag strip, I literally don't even do a burnout. I pull around the bleach box, and I have Mickey Thompson's on it, and I have them at like 20 pounds, and I can stab it, and it hooks. As Jason, as far as what you were talking about, the shifting, I have put a shift kit in it since those videos, and I have all the footage, but I haven't got everything done, and the weather's kind of gotten bad, so I haven't been able to drive it and get like all the bugs out of the shift kit. But I put a shift kit in it. It's helped, but I think I fried that transmission. So back to the people that were asking about the engine. It's a 350. The transmission is a 204R, so it's like a Grand National transmission. So it's got the overdrive. It's a 4-speed automatic. The transmission, there's a TV cable that goes up to the carburetor. When I first put the transmission in, I didn't hook it up. Didn't know. Thought, I don't need this. And turns out that ruins the transmission. I hooked it up afterwards, and I think I've heard it. The transmission fluid, I've changed it a couple of times. It's burnt. I've cleaned it out. It's better now. I put the shift kit in it to try to help it, but I think the damage is done, and the transmission is probably going to need to be rebuilt. When I was just down at my dad's house, though, he's got another 200 R4 that's already built in his basement that he's not doing anything with, so I might have to borrow that from him. So.
Well, and the benefit of the 200 R4 is the overdrive. So when you're not racing, you're getting the overdrive. You're getting that little bit of extra fuel economy out of it. So instead of 12 miles a gallon, you might be getting 15 or whatever. That's again, I guess I didn't realize that's what you had for a transmission. So if I was going to change one more thing, 350, that way you're guaranteed 2 shift points. Boom, you're done. If you're going to continue to do that, might even go with a power glide.
Yeah, I've thought about the power glide. If I was really going to just drag race it, I'd put a power glide in it. But I kind of want to keep it as, I want that to be my drag and drive. I want to be able to do drag week or Rocky Mountain Race week. And the overdrive, it's got a 410 gear in it right now. It's a 12 bolt with a 410 gear. And I can cruise 70 miles an hour, and I'm turning like 2,400 RPM. If I didn't have the overdrive, I would be 3,200 or better doing 70. So the overdrive really helps it a bunch. It makes it so much more drivable. So that's the biggest reason why I went with that transmission. And the good thing about the 204R is it's the same length as a 350 or a power glide transmission. So my drive shaft is still the original drive shaft in that car, even though I've changed transmissions. I didn't have to shorten that, which just saves you a lot of money. So.
Well, Casey, if you do a 5-speed swap, the most important thing is just to make sure that you double clutch and don't granny shift. From the words of wisdom from one Dom in Fast and the Furious, the original. So it goes without saying. It's probably on a T-shirt somewhere. But this is the part of the show where we open it up to the chat. If you have a question for Casey, why don't you go ahead and put it on in there, and we'll try to feed that through to him. But until then, we will kind of go around the horn and just talk about what to expect next on each person's channel. Casey, we'll start with you. I know you did mention a little bit about you just put an upload up. So if you want to kind of revisit that and promote that a little bit, why don't you go ahead and do that?
All right. So I did just post a video. Like I said, I went down to my dad's. I made video about his garage shop and then his 2 cars. He has a 68 Plymouth Roadrunner that he actually bought that when I was in high school. He got it in 1992 and got it painted, did a valve job to it, interior. It's a beautiful 68 Roadrunner. It's actually the first car I ever won a bracket race. I won it in my dad's car. He let me drive the Roadrunner, and I won a bracket race in that back in 1996, I think. And the other car he has is a 57 Chevy that is super cool. It was in a contest in Barrow County, Georgia. It was given away brand new on Christmas Eve, 1956. They gave away this 57 Chevy, and the owner of the car, the person that won it, her name was Fannie Lou White, and she drove that car until the day she died. It was the only car she ever had from 1956 until 2005 when she passed away. And my dad found the car and bought it. So the history of that car is super cool. It's all patinaed. She parked it under a pine tree in Georgia, and the paint is ruined. The body is just junk. I mean, everything is rusted out because the pine needles held all the moisture. The trunk lid is rusted. The doors are rusted. Everything is gone. But the car is super cool. It's still the original V8 engine that came with the car. It was a 3-speed on the column. My dad put a 4-speed in it. And it is a really cool 57 Chevy. So I'm going to have a video that's just posted that's about all of them. And then I'm going to have a special video for each car and go deeper into what's going on with the cars, the history, just like a deep dive into each car. So that's what's coming up on my channel. Oh, and before we forget, I did see in the chat that 815 says that I should LS swap my wagon. And I've thought about it, but it's kind of
not
cooler
on this
that
show.
it's cooler that it's a small block Chevy with a carburetor. So I'm going to resist that. Okay.
Yeah, that's one thing that I've never been able to do is I've never been able to switch over to big block or the whole LS thing. I'm not against either of those things, but everything I've ever had has always been a small block. We did have a couple of questions pop through there, some that were already answered, but I think Big Al was asking what year the wagon was. It's a 64. And yep. Will's Wheels was asking what part of Tennessee, and I think you said Nashville.
Yep, just east of Nashville.
And this was not directed at you, but Ryan is asking, in a fist fight, who would win, Derek from VGG or Jason from OCG? I got to give it to Derek. He's a little bit taller than I am, and I think he's got a few extra pounds on me. So sorry, Derek.
It might not be directed at Casey, but I think maybe everything is wanting Casey to answer the question.
Oh, well, sorry. Well, yeah, go ahead, Casey. You shoot.
Oh, I was supposed to say,
maybe you were supposed to answer
that because I'm a fan. I don't know. Can you play guitar? Because apparently Derek can play guitar too. It's like nothing that guy can do. Play drums, maybe?
No, I tried, but
okay,
horrible. So yeah, we went to Casey talking about his next video. So Grant, why don't you tell us a little bit about what we can expect, or that we something they might be having coming up on Straight Six Fan.
Well, since I love to always go full circle on these episodes and tie things back around to what our guest was talking about when Casey introduced himself as a self-proclaimed, I don't exactly remember the words he used because I'm too far into this bottle, but
below average backyard.
Yeah, below average backyard wrencher. Yes. Tomorrow, 5-Minute Fridays, we wrap up. As if you guys know, when I do 5-Minute Fridays, I want to make sure I can do at least 5 consecutive weeks. So this is the 5th consecutive week for 5-Minute Fridays. And I'm going to release a basically 7 emotions that every YouTube car guy wrencher project builder goes through. So
we talked about that last week, and we thought, what a great video topic that would be.
Yep. Yeah, I took it a little bit different spin on. I think our guest AK Strom was talking about the 4 phases of depression of a car builder, but I took it, kind of expanded a little bit. So normally I'm struggling to get it done in 5 minutes, but I was super fast, so I got it done in under 5 minutes. But Jason, what's coming up on Old Car Guy?
So we, as you guys know, we've got the 68 Monaco running, and what comes along with getting a vehicle to go fast or to drive is, well, you got to have brakes to go along with that. So we've got tomorrow's upload. Tomorrow night is getting the brakes done on the 68 Monaco, and we're winding down, believe it or not, on this project for what we have. So after the brakes, we're going to have a fuel system, and then it's going to be the first drive once the weather clears up for us and get that thing out. And start trying to work some of the bugs out of it. We've also got some Panther stuff coming in the near future as well. So any other questions that have been popped up there, Grant, that I might have missed that I haven't seen yet?
No, I think you caught it. There were 4 question marks right away in the chat, but I think you kind of went through all of them. Yeah, it appears that way.
So one thing I do want to say before I forget, because last week I forgot, was if you guys want more live stream content and some great topics of conversation, head over to Junker Clunker's website, YouTube channel, because he's kind of doing a little bit of an after party after our show. So head on over there. There's lots of great topics of conversation. Like I said, you'll get to meet some of the guys in his chat and maybe find a few more followers, Casey, if you head on over there and see what's going on at Junker Clunker's live stream. So I think go ahead.
I was just going to piggyback on that. And if you want one of the best radio voices on YouTube live streams, if Wasted Talent Fabrications is in on Junker Clunker's live stream, just sit back with a glass of bourbon and just drink it in, because he's got a great radio voice for the live streams.
I thought you were going to say me, but anyways, guys, we are winding up the this week's episode of the Car Guy and Six Fan Show. We had a great attendance. I think we reached up to almost 40 people in the chat tonight. And so, Casey, thanks so much for taking some time out, heading over here and answering a few of our questions and being grilled. We really appreciate taking the time out on this Thursday evening.
I appreciate you guys having me on. I was looking at the schedule, and you guys have had some pretty big people on. AK Strom, I know last week, I watched that one. He's really big on TikTok, and that's how I found him, and then started following his YouTube channel. So 2 S10s, 2 weeks in a row on the channel. I like that. And I looked at the schedule coming up. I know you have what's the Corvette car guy, the Corvette guy, Mike, the Chevy
Davenport.
Chevy dude, yeah.
Yep.
He's coming up. So you guys have some big names on the channel. I feel like small potatoes. So I really do appreciate being on and being able to talk about the competition with 815. He is ahead of me, by the way. I saw someone ask that in the chat. He's ahead of me, but I'm just looking at my phone, and I've closed the gap a little bit tonight. Now, tomorrow I might lose all those subscribers again, but it says I'm at 593. And when this started tonight, I was at 582. So I appreciate each and every one of you guys for subscribing, and I'll keep putting out good content for you.
Well, if you're watching the replay, make sure that you help level the score and go over and subscribe Casey over at Patina Pitstop. And I know, Casey, you talked about our upcoming lineup, and yes, we do have some big names, and we did have some big names, but that we want the Car Guy and Six Fan Show always to be about where we started from. It was always about trying to get not just Jason and I to 1,000 subscribers, but the fellow YouTubers. I always make the comment, you feel like you're part of the graduating class of fill in the blank. Like when you make it on YouTube, you kind of come up with the same people. And so we don't ever want to lose sight of that. If you're under 1,000 subscribers, we don't give a bleep. We want to help you out. We want to help you get there, and we want to help facilitate that. So it's been great to have you as a guest here on the Car Guy and Six Fan Show Thursday night, 7 p.m. We've almost gone an hour. It does alternate every other week from Jason's channel to mine. So next week it is on my channel. We do have Nivlac 57, the 4200 Vortec guru here on YouTube. But that's going to do it for this episode. So I just want to say to all my Six fans out there, thanks for watching.